Oh my God, I said hi, Sherry, and my Siri popped up on my...
Oh my God, it's still going, Suze.
What is up, everybody, from our AT&T 5G virtual studios? Welcome on into the call-up. I'm Susanna Collins, this beautiful lady sitting right next to me,
The commune continues.
Is Jillian Sakovitz. I know, we're reunited.
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever. You guys, this is, it's crazy. You think you're tired of our antics? Well, just you wait. Just you wait. We are now
MLS
co-hosts,
has bought us a place
co-hosts
to
and
live
neighbors,
and podcast together all the time.
So
Thank
get ready,
you, MLS.
Get ready for that. But we have such a fun episode today because we are so excited. 2022 MLS All-Star Game presented by Target is literally around the corner.
We're packing our bags.
We are packing our bags. We are so excited. And so to talk more about that and just everything that's going on with Minnesota United, we're bringing in the CEO, Shari Ballard.
That means the boss of the team.
She's incredible. And we are so lucky because we've been able to talk to some really, really successful and incredible women that are part of ownership groups, that are sort of overseeing all the business sides of clubs.
Making moves in MLS.
Exactly. And you just get a sense from Shari that this club is in such good hands. She was an executive at Best Buy for like 25 years, like tippy top of Best Buy, which is obviously a global phenomenon, global company. And then she took this job and the end of last year and just has I love the way she talked about it as, she's obviously an incredible businesswoman and has this like huge business acumen, but she wants people to look at her, look at the job of executives and feel like they could visualize themselves in that job too, to make it relatable. And I think that is such an important quality to have in leadership.
You can do it, Jill.
Absolutely. It's inspiring. You could do it. You could do whatever you put your mind to.
Fun fact about Shari that, she says when I, managed Best Buy, it was hundreds of thousands of people, right? 125 employees at Minnesota United. And when she got there, she met with every single one.
And I believe it because you just get that sense from her. She's such a people person. She kept saying this is also a people business. And so it's just a great conversation. People. She, I listened to an interview she did with Kendra de Saint Aubin, and she said that she takes on projects that feed her soul. And I was like, well, that is inspiring.
And that is this project for
exactly. And I was like, well, that resonates.
Sometimes it feeds my soul. I hope it feeds our listeners.
It always feeds my soul.
You're right. It always feeds my soul.
Always. Constantly. But yeah, it was a really great conversation with Shari.
Time now for our AT&T 5G call to the field. We are so excited to get set for the 2022 MLS All-Star Game with Chief Executive Officer of Minnesota United, Shari Ballard. Hi, Shari.
Hi, Shari.
Good morning, ladies.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Let's dive right into it. You're a longtime resident and respected leader in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, former executive at Best Buy. So we got to know, how the heck did you end up in Major League Soccer?
I bet you guys know this. Sometimes these things find you, you don't find them. So yes, I was at Best Buy for, as I tell folks, 250 years. So my whole adult life at Best Buy, absolutely fabulous company, and I'm a proud alum. I finished up there probably 2 years ago, and at that point was trying to get more involved in community work. I honestly felt like I was sort of in a business adult and an infant in the community and in terms of understanding the community and the needs of the community. So that's what I was doing. And I got a call one day. Actually, I got 3 separate calls in 2 days from people I knew in the community, but I did not know they were with Minnesota United or related to the club, saying that Chris Wright, who had been the CEO here, was going to retire. And they wanted to talk to me about the job. And I honestly thought they wanted me to give them references for people who could do the job. So I was like, oh yeah, I know a ton of people. Tell me what you're looking for, and I bet I can at least give you some ideas. They were like, no, that's not the idea. So it started that way. I said I would be happy to talk to them. I always say yes to that. You learn stuff. But I was adamant I was not going to take another full-time operating job. And then
here you are.
Yeah. And 6 months later, I was taking a full-time operating job.
So how has it gone for you since you've taken over at the helm? How has that transition been? Do you feel like you've got kind of a handle on everything, getting acclimated to MLS and the soccer world?
No, of course not. I've never had a leadership job in my life where I felt like I had a handle on everything. But I would say overall, it's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I grew up playing sports and I love sports, but I did not grow up playing soccer. It just it was not available when I was a kid. So I played more, kind of U.S. traditional sports. So that part's been wonderful. I'm 56 and I'm learning a new sport, and I'm learning it from people like yourselves who have spent your whole life in it. That part's fabulous. I love it. So I'm learning a bunch there. I'm also finding, I think probably not surprising, that there's a lot of things that have been a part of my life experience that are really applicable here too. It's a normal job in many ways. We have customers, we have fans, we have, employees, we have products, we have facilities. So those kinds of things are they translate well. I would say the biggest difference between Best Buy and this is the scale. It's not the product or the industry really, because they're both at the core 100% people jobs, absolute people jobs. So that's similar, but the scale is quite different. When I left Best Buy, it was, there was like 100,000 people somewhere in, kind of my responsibilities of the organization, and we have 150 here. So that part's terrific. At this stage in my life, to be, in a place where I know everybody, they know me. I can talk directly to our team members. I can talk to our fans. I can talk to our season ticket members. I can experience game day with them. The scale of it in terms of the ability to engage in it personally and not through a massive geography and a whole bunch of people. That was fun too, but for different reasons. This part's very cool. It kind of means I'm going to end my career the way I started it. I started it in a Best Buy store with 120 people, where it was the same. You could see and know everybody. So that part is awesome.
Full circle.
Being
love that.
fully engulfed into soccer, even as someone who played it growing up, there's still things about MLS that surprise you and you love about it. So Shari, what was the one thing that even now stood out to you and you're like, that's nuts?
Oh my goodness. Let's see.
I'm sure there's perhaps more than one.
Well, I'm not sure how you and your listeners are going to respond to this, but I sent ties mess with my North America and U.S. centric sports sensibilities.
Yes.
So draws or ties are still in my brain. Like, what are we doing? What do we mean nobody won today?
Yeah, I don't love a draw.
Yeah.
So,
I do. I
part
agree.
is
It does
still,
kind of go against our, like there has to be a winner at the end.
And
like,
a loser.
What do you mean? We share the points. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Right.
I would say that part's like my blink response in terms of the one thing that still every single time it happens, it strikes me as what are we doing? So I would say that. I think in terms of kind of maybe broader MLS, I think still how young the sport is here, and just the, kind of where we are in terms of, fans understanding it to very high degrees, and then there's the element of just the relationship, I think, between clubs and MLS, where that part reminds me a lot of my Best Buy days. There were times when I was in Best Buy stores and, you've got a corporate office, if I could put it that way, that's, trying to help you with all their capabilities. And there were days when it was like, oh, that's super helpful. And then there were days when it was like, that is really not helpful. That's quite familiar too.
I've got family in Apple Valley, Minnesota. I have family in Bemidji, Minnesota. And so I feel like I have such strong ties to Minnesota, as do you. I know that you were born there. Can you kind of, I'm very curious to know, like, what this like big executive at Best Buy and now the CEO of Minnesota United, what kind of
your setup is going to be brutal for me to answer.
What childhood look like for you? How does this happen? Like, how does a girl from Minnesota do all of these extraordinary things. What did life look like for you as a kid growing up in Minnesota?
Well, Minnesota is home now for sure. So you have that part right. I grew up in Michigan though.
Midwest.
The question still applies because there's actually quite a few similarities. So I grew up just out in the middle of the state of Flint. My dad worked for General Motors. He was a crane operator at the metal fabricating plant in Flint. And at the time, so I was born in 1966. So like in the 70s and 80s, Flint in particular was very, very heavy General Motors town. So that's the world I grew up in. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And then I have one sister, Barb. She's 4 years younger than me. I mentioned earlier I played sports growing up, played summer sports. Anything you could possibly do outside, we did outside. And I went to school at the University of Michigan, Flint. And like a lot of kids, I had to work while I went to school. And that's how I got into retail. I worked for a company called MC Sporting Goods, which you would not know.
I remember MC.
Oh, do you? As you say, you wouldn't know unless you grew up in Michigan or Illinois or Indiana or Ohio.
100%.
Okay, so you know them. Like a lot of times
I got my first pair of ice hockey skates at an MC Sport.
Okay, first of all, good on you for the ice hockey skates. I love that. But like a lot of times people don't, they don't know what it is. So I'm always having to describe it as, well, everybody knows Dick's Sporting Goods now. I'm also a big fan of theirs. So think Dick's Sporting Goods, but in 10,000 square feet versus 70 and with hardly any women's clothing. That would be MC Sporting Goods. So I worked there while I went to college. And when I got done with college, I gave them my notice. I thought, well, I went to college, so I have to go do what I went to college for. And my degree is actually in sociology, social work. And so I gave my 2 weeks notice at MC. Got a call the next day from my district manager who was like, no, we want you to be a store manager for us. And honestly, I had my experience at MC was sort of unique from a retail perspective in that we did not have a lot of employee turnover at MC. There was this kind of core group of us. There's like 20 of us who worked there together, mostly because we were going to school, and MC was great at working around school schedules. But we had a lot of management turnover, like they would go to different locations, et cetera. And one of the things I kind of noticed while I was working there was that my own performance, we would call it engagement today, but we didn't have language for such things at the time. But like my own performance was quite different depending on who the manager was. And I'm the same person and I'm super competitive. But, if I was being honest, how much discretionary effort I applied to my, customers at MC was different depending on who I was working with and for, which I think kind of started me just being a little bit curious about, geez, if I was a store manager, I wonder if I would be a good one or a bad one, as if there are only two kinds. But I just worked with so many. I just wondered, would I be one of those store managers that, got better performance and people had more fun, or would I be horrible at it? And I just really wanted to find out. So I talked to my parents and I thought, my gosh, me going to college was an endeavor for all of us. They helped, I worked. So it was kind of I was the first kid in our family to go to college. So that was a thing. And when I was telling them I'm going to take a retail job rather than what I went to school for, I was like, this is gonna be very difficult. But I think they were, supportive of it. So I thought I would do it for 1 year to find out if I was good. And that's what I was doing when MC came to Michigan and I got recruited to join MC. And I spent my whole life in retail. There's just the leadership aspects, I think, of that kind of job, where every day the variables are different. You've got 100 people you're working with. You're in a community. If it's Downers Grove, you're in a community of tens of thousands of people. And on any given day, it's a mix of your team, your community, and you're trying to really do meaningful things for them. And in that way, it's the same as this job. Like I said, it's a people job too. But so it was all that. And then I spent the next 26 years with Best Buy. And most of that, probably half of it was in Michigan doing, different, kind of traditional retail jobs. And then came to Minneapolis in 2000 for Best Buy. So it's, it's how does it happen? I don't know. Like what I say to people is I think I'm pretty, I was going to say, I'm pretty normal. I suppose some of my friends would be like, you're completely not normal, so you need some self-awareness. But I think it's like anything else, the world is just full in certain ways of normal people who, do meaningful things with their life. And I would just say I tried at Best Buy, and I am doing the same here. I try to do the job in a way where everybody who would want it can see themselves in it. I don't know about you guys, but over the years, when I've watched different people in leadership jobs, sometimes, especially younger in my career, I would watch people in the jobs and they kind of sort of look like they are coming out of central casting in a certain way, like they look a certain way, they talk a certain way, they're like charismatic, charming. Never kind of say anything weird, and so I saw a lot of that.
You like to call them.
Okay, perfectly. Yeah, suits. And it was just like, if that's how you have to be in these jobs, I don't want it. Like, I don't want to be that. So I just try to do the job in a way that, people who don't feel like they came out of central casting necessarily, can see themselves in it and want to do it.
On the note of relatability, Shari, let me ask you this question. We've spoken to a lot of women in leadership roles, female owners, business operations officers, and that such. And always it comes up that either somebody wants to go in on, I'm a woman in this space, and this is so unique, and this is cool. And other people are, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to make it.
It should be normal.
Yeah, to normalize it, right? How do you, as someone that was named Fortune Magazine's 50 most powerful women in business 4 times, how do you handle that conversation or that topic when we or you get tokenized or honored as a woman?
This is a very smart question. Not as if the other questions weren't smart questions. This is a
like
very
to
smart
mix it up.
Hey, your first 4 were dumb. This one's smart. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm going to say 2 things about it. I would say, one, I didn't spend very much time in my career thinking about my gender. So I really was not like going through life first and foremost thinking I'm a woman and then judging kind of how the world interacted with me based on my gender. I am a woman and I'm happy to be one, but I'm a lot of things, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm competitive as all get out, I'm impatient, the list is endless. And I think personally it wasn't really a choice, but I think it was advantageous looking back. And the reason I say that is because when things weren't working, if I wasn't getting outcomes or I wasn't performing at the level that was needed in some particular situation, I never spent any time on, well, maybe I'm not getting outcomes because I'm a woman and they won't let me. And so I very much stayed focused on what I could control and trying to get better in the interactions, just, trying to figure out how to get outcomes. And so I think in that way, I never really saw myself as a victim of my gender. And so I think that was helpful. And I don't, even today, now that I'm probably more aware of the way some of this stuff plays out than I was earlier, I still don't. That said, I think especially when I took this job, I got that question a lot, like how I think about it. What I said then and I would still say today is, first of all, just given the demographics of the sport and just the range of different people that love the sport, watch the sport, and play the sport, including women, I do think it's important that you've got in all levels of the organizations that are part of the sport, that they're generally speaking representative of the people that you're serving. And so in that respect, I think it's good. But I would also say, and I feel a responsibility. I really do. I feel a responsibility to do the job to the best of my ability. But as I said a minute ago, to do it in a way where a wide range of people can see themselves in the job. Maybe somebody who didn't grow up in sports has felt like the only way you can do a leadership job in sports is if you've played sports. So maybe some people will look at it and go, hey, you know what? I didn't have to, be a world-class athlete to be able to lead and have an impact in this sport we're all in love with. Or, maybe it's somebody who grew up more blue collar, and who looks at it and says, yeah, you know what, I can do that too. Or somebody who, doesn't. I mean, I love sports, but I don't look like an athlete. That's for sure. I mean, in some ways, people might say,
any of us
I know,
anymore,
right?
I am one. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I try to do it in a way where everybody who has aspirations to do it, but might, for whatever their own reason is, feel insecure about it because of these labels we put on each other, to try to make knowing each other easy. Gender, race, the labeling systems, I just try to do it in a way where it kind of cuts across all those labels, and it's more about who's the person and what's the quality of their leadership capability and who are they serving in the job. And, if the quality of your capability is good and you're serving the right people in the job, your fans, your community, your own team members, then yeah, if at the end, when I'm done, if somebody says, hey, she was a role model for that, I think all of us at the club would be really proud of that.
Absolutely. 100%. I feel like Minnesota United is in very, very good hands with Shari Ballard at the helm. We are so excited, Shari, because we're going to be coming to
Are you guys coming for All-Star Game?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right,
We
awesome.
will be there.
Awesome.
Number one, Allianz Field is just, I don't know
One
what
of the
your
best.
reaction was the first time you ever saw it, but
I couldn't believe it. I went as a
Really?
fan. I wasn't even working. And I went to a game, and I mean, we go to a lot of sporting events, and it was the shrine of sporting events in my mind up until I went to Allianz was Michigan football.
Yeah.
Kind of sold out on game day in Ann Arbor. The experience I had as a non-team member at Allianz was something I will never forget. I take no credit for it. I've only been here a year. They have done an amazing job.
I love that you got to enjoy it as a fan first. I love that you got to have that experience first, because it was I got to go to the stadium opener, and I was just absolutely blown away. And the thought of having an MLS All-Star Game at Allianz in the summer when Minneapolis is just at its finest is going to be it's so exciting. We are literally counting down the days. We cannot wait. I mean, how has that been for you? What can you tell us about if people are making the trip to Minneapolis to come to this incredible event? What can people anticipate? What does the city have to offer? The club have to offer? Tell us what's going on.
Well, as you're asking me this, I'm thinking back to the first question you asked me about what still blows my mind about MLS. I could say I am still blown away by how much work it is to host the All-Star Game. Seriously.
That's what I hear.
Seriously. And we would not trade it for anything. We're honored to do it. But it's one of those things where it's probably good you don't know it when you sign up for it, or else you might seriously be
such an honest answer.
I don't know.
You'll never get an All-Star Game.
You know what I mean? Because it's we are full blown in the middle of our season, obviously. We've got a reserve team and an academy that are full. And we got a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I would say. Everybody from our team members to the MLS team members who are working on this, it is a lot of work. But we're super excited. I mean, I think you mentioned it, but the fan support in the community for soccer has been, more than you could ask for, honestly. I mean, not just for our club, but we've hosted World Cup qualifiers here. We hosted Carly Lloyd's last game last fall, sold out. The atmosphere was absurd. It was so great. And then we hosted obviously the game in February, the qualifier here, which was that was epic.
That's one of my history books.
This was seriously I was watching that game in the bowl with everybody else, breath coming out. It was quintessential Minnesota. The drinks are freezing in the cup holder, and we had support there too. We were sold out. So in that respect, it kind of feels like I think Commissioner Garber said, the city earned the All-Star Game, and I think he's right. The fan support has been great. Like I said, we get it as a club. The other events get it. So we should expect that. It will be entirely sold out. The atmosphere will be fabulous. I would say what I think a lot of people probably don't know about the All-Star Game, and this is a great thing about it. It brings a lot of resource to the community. So there's an entire week of events that we're doing, from unified game to community events where we're honoring hometown heroes for their work in education, mental health, food disparity, social justice. We're doing community day at a Boys and Girls Club. So there's just like real people in the community who get real benefit because we're hosting the All-Star Game, and it brings a lot of resource, not just from MLS, but from the partners. So that'll be great. And then there's all the stuff that goes with it. You know, there's the concert downtown, there's skills challenge, soccer celebration. So, I mean, it's a full week. It's going to be awesome. Nobody will be shy things to do. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, we know about that. Before we let you go, Minnesota United will have Emmanuel Reynoso and Dane St. Clair in the MLS All-Star Game,
Yes,
alongside, of course, which is a tradition, that the hometown head coach,
Yes.
a real, I would say he's one of our favorite he's one of our favorite characters in the league, is your head coach.
Adrian is not a wallflower. That is for sure.
So leave us with what it's been like working alongside Adrian Heath, because we have to know, because we love him.
I'll tell you what, I like working with Adrian a lot. He is, as you would expect, he is uber competitive. I am uber competitive too. And most days we're uber competitive, pointed in the same direction. Other times we're uber competitive in other directions. But I always know what Adrian thinks. He's straightforward. He calls it like he sees it. He does not shy away or try to tell people what they want to hear. He is who he is. And I would say what I'm impressed with beyond what he does as his soccer acumen. I mean, you guys know him. He's spent his entire life in the sport. So what Adrian brings to our club, which is still, I mean, we're relatively young. We're 6 years in. I mean, it's not like we've been around forever. So I think that just the experience and the soccer acumen Adrian brings, in addition to his personality, is really important for the club, 100% important for the club. And I think a lot of people don't, he doesn't go around talking about it, but a lot of people don't really know his whole history. Like, they really don't know what he did at Everton.
Everton legend.
I mean, they just don't know. And he doesn't lead with it, but it's like, when you know his whole story, it's really hard not to appreciate, respect, and like Adrian. And I'm all three. I appreciate him. I respect him. I like him. And I'm really happy to be working with him.
Same. I think we're all team Adrian.
Yeah, can't wait to see him coaching these MLS All-Stars.
He better. I have to tell you, when I was with Best Buy, I worked with the Mexico team forever. And while you're not allowed to have favorites in those jobs, I loved that team. So I'm thrilled we're playing Mexico in our stadium.
Yes,
Liga MX All-Stars. But Adrian knows, like, for that 90 minutes, we got to beat Mexico. Like, he knows.
Yeah, you got to beat Liga MX. Shari, thank you so much. Are you a Minnesota Vikings fan?
I'm a long-suffering Detroit Lions fan.
Oh, no. Lions and Vikings are almost the same in terms
of Bears fan.
Because I'm here.
Throw Bears into the mix, too.
No, you got way more to work with as a Bears fan.
This is the NFC North right here.
We got we're like a big NFC.
No, I would say this. I do root for the Vikings now because I live here. But if you ask me honestly, I'm long-suffering Lions, and I will tell you this.
Sorry.
Of the three of us, I have the worst lot in life on that front.
You do.
Here for Shari.
Here for Shari.
Also my mom's name.
We're going to have to hang out with Shari.
Yes, in Minnesota.
I can't wait.
Cannot wait. We also here for the All-Star Game. So 2022, the Minnesota area, obviously, Minneapolis, St. Paul. 2023 announced a few weeks ago that it'll be in D.C., which means should everything, pan out, Wayne Rooney will still be the head coach in 12 months' time at DC, and that earns he will be the coach then of the MLS All-Stars.
This is incredible.
Fun fact, though, he was an MLS All-Star in Orlando. We all remember that.
Yep.
In 2019, that was iconic. Bastian Schweinsteiger, Wayne Rooney were All-Stars that year.
Yeah. Nani was there.
Friends were all there. Kaká, remember we took a selfie with him? He wasn't in it.
He wasn't in it, but he was there.
He also played in an MLS All-Star Game before we did the Liga MX thing when he was at Manchester United at Red Bull Arena in 2011. So Wayne loves an MLS All-Star Game. So it got me thinking, one, Wayne Rooney as an MLS All-Star head coach, here for that.
100%.
Who is he going to be coaching that he did play with or play against? Is he going to show partialism? Is he going to be raging? I just can't wait for all of this. But it got me thinking, Suze, we stan MLS head coaches. We kind of love the characters that they are.
Yes.
So not based on City, but based on manager, where should it be in 2024? For you.
Oh, gosh.
Who do you want to see rage on the sidelines with all the best in MLS?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. We have so many good ones. I mean, like, I love that we're going to get to see Adrian Heath. I would love to see Jim Curtin get an opportunity to coach an All-Star game.
What would he wear?
I know. I mean, like, for the fashion alone, which would be, because he would bring it.
Yeah.
He would bring it.
He would.
Steve
That's a good
Cherundolo, I think, would be super fun, too, because I'm so impressed with him. And he's so laid back. So I don't know. I'd like to see how he manages all of those big personalities.
So those are like all in thoughts. One of my favorite memories of MLS All-Star was 2018 in Atlanta. Like, it's crazy to think about 2018. Like, they had All-Star. Then they won MLS Cup. It was like, you're just in Atlanta all the time. But I loved Tata Martino, like, low-key being like, what is this? Like, I'm coaching. I'm trying to coach a championship season here. So I also love those coaches that would be like, okay,
yeah, it's
cool.
kind of like lost on them, like the enormity of the event. I get it. That was a crazy year though, because that was the same year that Atlanta hosted MLS All-Star, but then they also had MLS Cup. So it was like, honestly, those two events, like, I converged them in my mind.
That year. We also had Froze with Waka Flocka.
Exactly, and I was like, did that happen at MLS All-Star? Was that
so? You know how I know that happened at All-Star? He was wearing a red puffer jacket.
That's right.
And it was 700 degrees.
That's right. Thank you.
And I remember it would have made sense in December.
Yes.
Not so much in August.
Yes.
So anyway, this is all just to say,
guys, we're so excited about All-Star.
Gosh. All right. Let's talk about this All-Star. Take a break from memory lane and the future. What's on tap? The 2022 All-Star jersey just released, so make sure to head over to the MLS store and grab your gear before you make that trip. You can join us on Monday for a very special live episode of the Call-Up coming to you from Minnesota. We'll have some very special guests dropping in and out, just like we had at MLS Cup.
Oh my God.
At All-Star in LA last year. And of course, make sure you get your tickets for the MLS All-Star concert that night, should you be in town. That's August 8th. Featuring headliner Khalid.
All right.
Woo!
Oh my gosh, there's so many exciting things. And then on Tuesday, it is the All-Star Skills Challenge presented by AT&T 5G. This is always so much fun. It just brings incredible moments. I'll never forget the one in Orlando when Nani hit that crossbar to win it for Orlando City, like at the dying seconds.
They were surprised by how excited they were.
Oh, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that. And if you are in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, you should check that out.
Yes, we'll both be there covering it. Of course, Wednesday, August 10th is the 2022 MLS All-Star Game presented by Target. It's going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, Univision, TSN, TVA Sports in Canada. So there's so much going on. Suzanne and I will be at both events, working the stadium hosting, working the broadcast. So we'll see you there.
But first, we have an exciting doubleheader to look forward to at SoFi Stadium
tomorrow night with the Leagues Cup Showcase. First, the Galaxy takes on Chivas at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by LAFC taking on Club America at 11:15 p.m. Eastern. For more information, head on over to MLSsoccer.com.
And we cannot wait for that, but the next time we'll be seeing you is from Minnesota.
What's up, everybody? It is Susanna Collins and Jillian Sakovitz, co-hosts of The Call-Up. And if you want more Call-Up action, hit like and subscribe right here on YouTube, right there.
And also make sure that you download every episode of The Call-Up every single Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time or anywhere that you get your podcasts. And while you're here, why not check out some of these other videos as well?